7 accidental inventions that changed the world. Sometimes, genius arrives simply by chance, not by choice. That explains why some of the greatest inventions happened by accident. In some cases, the inventor was searching for one thing but found something very different. However, in one case, it was a casual walk through the woods that led to the discovery. Find out how chance played a role in some of the world's greatest inventions. 1. Velcro. Fasteners are on several products from backpacks to blood pressure gauges, but can you imagine a world where this technology doesn't exist? 80 years ago, people lived in a Velcro-less world with no plans or intentions of inventing the item. In 1941, Swiss engineer Georges de Maistre took a leisurely stroll through the woods with his dog. When they returned from their walk, he noticed they were covered with small burrs. He studied the burrs in hopes of determining how they stuck to clothing and hair so easily, and he found that the small hooks on the burr allowed it to cling to tiny loops of fabric. De Maistre came up with the bright idea of creating a two-sided fastener with stiff hooks and loops. He named his invention Velcro, which is actually the name of the company and not the general term for hook and loop fasteners. His product was patented in 1955 and then manufactured and distributed across the world. Velcro fasteners have been used on several items, but they gained popularity after being used in outer space. The fasteners help keep equipment from floating away in zero gravity. During de Maistre's lifetime, his company sold an average of 55 million meters, 60 million yards, of Velcro per year. 2. Playdough. Kids love Playdough because it comes in many colors and can be sculpted into anything imaginable. This popular children's product was invented by accident by Noah McVicker. He worked for a soap company and originally invented the putty substance to be used as a wallpaper cleaner. The cleaner worked great because it contained no chemicals, could be reused, and didn't stain the wallpaper. Noah's nephew, Joseph McVicker, worked for the same company and discovered that teachers were using the putty in their classrooms for arts and crafts. Joseph is responsible for changing the name to Playdough and marketing the putty for children. The McVickers established the Rainbow Crafts Company to manufacture and sell the putty, which at first was only available in an off-white color. More than 315 million kilograms, 700 million pounds, of Playdough have been sold since it was introduced. If you put all that putty through the Playdough Fun Factory playset, it would create a snake that could wrap around the world more than 300 times. 3. Post-it notes. Sticky notes are just small pieces of paper used to help remind you that your doctor's appointment is coming up or that your homework is late after tomorrow. We're all guilty of using them, but it's due to an accident that we are lucky enough to have them. In 1968, Dr. Spencer Silver, a chemist at 3M, was attempting to create a super-strong adhesive. Instead, he accidentally created a very weak, pressure-sensitive adhesive. He promoted his solution without a problem within the company for 5 years, but nobody could come up with a use for it. In 1974, Art Fry, a colleague of Silver's, found a way to use the adhesive for his personal purposes. Fry was a member of his church's choir, and he was frustrated that bookmarks placed in his hymnal were always popping out. He used the adhesive on his bookmarks to hold them in place. Fry later had the idea of using Silver's adhesive on small notes. 3M released the notes under the name Press and Peel in 1977, but there was no immediate success. The company started testing the product in certain areas and released Post-it notes in 1980. The small sticky notes finally started to gain traction, and the rest is history. The notes are now sold worldwide and come in various shapes and colors. 4. Saccharine. Outside of toxic lead acetate, The first artificial sweetener was Saccharine. The product offered a cheap alternative to cane sugar, and it was discovered entirely by accident. The sweetener was discovered in a small lab at Johns Hopkins University that belonged to researcher Ira Remsen. He loaned the use of his lab to Russian chemist Konstantin Falberg. One night after working in the lab, Falberg went home to eat dinner with his wife. He noticed that the homemade bread he was eating was much sweeter, but his wife confirmed that she had not changed the recipe. Falberg realized that he must have transferred a chemical from his lab to the bread, and apparently, he hadn't washed his hands. He went back to his lab and tasted every chemical on his desk. Eventually, he traced the taste to a beaker filled with sulfobenzoic acid, phosphorus chloride, and ammonia, a compound known as benzoic sulfonide. This accidental discovery led to those little colorful packets that you see on every restaurant table. 5. Vulcanized rubber. Charles Goodyear was obsessed with rubber, so much so that he put his family in debt to finance experiments to make rubber more suitable for industrial use. In his early years, he was unsuccessful in the rubber business, but he never let that slow him down. In 1839, Goodyear accidentally dropped rubber on a hot stove with sulfur on it, and surprisingly, the rubber didn't melt. In fact, it actually hardened. In 1844, Goodyear patented the vulcanized rubber, and his company became a leading manufacturer of rubber at the time. His success was short-lived, as was his fortune. He lost most of his money on legal battles fighting patent infringements, and he died in 1860. The Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company was founded in 1898 and named in his honor. 6. Chocolate chip cookies. One of the most delicious treats, the chocolate chip cookie, was surprisingly invented by accident. It happened in 1930 at the Toll House Inn, which was run by Kenneth and Ruth Graves Wakefield. Mrs. Wakefield prepared all the desserts at the inn, and she had earned a reputation for her tasty treats. One night, Mrs. Wakefield started making some chocolate butter drop to cookies, which was a popular colonial recipe. But she realized that she was out of baker's chocolate. So she started chopping up a block of Nestlé semi-sweet chocolate to use in the recipe. She thought the chocolate would melt and disperse across the cookie, but it actually retained its original form and softened. The cookie was a hit, and she dubbed it the Chocolate Crunch Cookie. The rest is sweet, delicious history. The original recipe is still printed on bags of Nestlé's Toll House chocolate morsels. 7. Kevlar. Stephanie Kwolek always wanted to be a doctor. Instead, she became the accidental inventor of Kevlar, which is a lightweight fabric 5 times stronger than steel. While analyzing molecule chains at low temperatures, she found a chain that was exceptionally strong and stiff. She knew that fibers created from this solution were the strongest anyone had ever seen, and her discovery led to the invention of Kevlar. There are now more than 200 applications for the fabric. It has been used to create body armor for police forces and military troops, and it can also be found in planes, shoes, boats, car brakes, and many other items. Kevlar vests have saved many lives from bullets, knives, and other weapons, and many more in the future will be spared thanks to its discovery.